Have you ever had a big dream, something that set your heart on fire but found yourself stuck, unable to make real progress? You're not alone. This is the story of Arav, a young man who dreamed of becoming a great writer. His mind was an ocean of ideas, his heart a universe of stories. But he had one big problem. He never stuck with anything for long. He'd start a story with incredible passion, writing 2 pages in a flash, only to abandon it the very next day. He once decided to keep a journal, a seemingly simple task, but after just 3 days, the pages remained blank. Weeks turned into months, and while his dream was as vivid as ever, his actions were like scattered puzzle pieces, forming no coherent picture. One evening, consumed by frustration and self-doubt, Arav wandered down to the riverside. There, in the soft glow of the setting sun, he saw an old man patiently carving intricate shapes onto a massive rock with nothing more than a small, humble chisel. Arav was captivated. How could such a tiny tool make any difference to such an unyielding stone? He had to know. Gathering his courage, he approached the man. "Baba," he asked, his voice filled with awe, "how long have you been working on this rock?" The old man looked up, his face etched with the lines of time and wisdom, and smiled warmly. "Every day," he replied. "For 1 hour for the past 2 years." Arav was stunned. 2 whole years with just that small chisel? "Didn't you get tired?" he asked. "Didn't you ever lose hope?" The old man's eyes, gentle and knowing, met his. "Son," he said, his voice calm and steady, "this chisel alone could never break the rock. But my consistency, my daily effort, that is what makes the impossible possible. The rock doesn't change in one strike, but every single strike counts. It is not the force of one mighty blow, but the patient repetition of many that ultimately shapes the stone." Those words struck Arav deeper than any chisel could ever strike a rock. It was a revelation, a sudden blinding flash of understanding. The secret wasn't about grand, heroic efforts. It was about small, daily commitments. That night, he returned home with a new resolve. He decided to test the power of consistency for himself. Instead of overwhelming himself with the promise of writing a whole book at once, he made a small, manageable commitment. He would write just 1 page every single day without fail. No excuses, no exceptions. The first week was a breeze. He was filled with a renewed sense of excitement, his mind buzzing with fresh ideas. His pen practically danced across the paper. But, as it always does, reality set in. Laziness and doubt, those old familiar shadows, began to creep back in. Some nights, he was exhausted after a long day. Some mornings, he felt completely uninspired, staring at a blank page that felt like an insurmountable wall. On those tough days, the temptation to just skip it, just for once, was immense. But in those moments of weakness, Arav would remember the old man's words, "Every strike counts." So even on the hardest days, when his mind felt like a desert, he forced himself to write. Sometimes it was just a few lines. Sometimes it was a single, clunky paragraph. But he did it. He honored his commitment. He kept striking the rock. Days slowly turned into weeks, and weeks bled into months. And a funny thing started to happen. The pages began to pile up. At first, it was a small stack, but it grew. 100 pages, 200 pages, 300 pages. Until one glorious day, a thick, heavy manuscript lay on his desk. Arav stared at it in disbelief. He had done it. He had completed his very first book. But as we all know, the journey doesn't end there. Arav sent his manuscript to publishers, full of hope. The rejections started to roll in. One after another, they said no. The old doubts came rushing back, whispering their toxic lies in his ear. Maybe you're just not good enough. Maybe this was all a waste of time. For a moment, he faltered. But by now, Arav had learned the profound secret of consistency. It wasn't just about starting, it was about continuing, especially when things got tough. Instead of giving up, he kept writing. Another page, another book, another submission. He kept showing up day after day, striking the rock. After 2 years of this steady, relentless effort, a letter arrived. It was different from the others. An editor had seen the potential in his work. One of his books was finally going to be published. The feeling was indescribable. Soon, readers began to discover his stories. His words, born from discipline and perseverance, started to inspire thousands. Arav became known not just as a writer, but as the young man who turned his dream into a breathtaking reality, one single page at a time. So, my dear friends, what can we learn from Arav's journey? Remember this: success doesn't magically appear from something you do once in a blue moon. It's forged in the quiet, unglamorous moments of daily dedication. It comes from what you do every single day. Think of the drops of water that patiently carve deep valleys through mountains, or the chisel that, strike by patient strike, shapes stone into a masterpiece. Your small, steady, consistent efforts are far more powerful than you can imagine. They will one day create wonders you haven't even dreamed of yet. If this story lit even a tiny spark of motivation within you, don't let it fade away. Nurture it. Feed it with action. Like this video to let us know it resonated with you, and share it with someone who might need a little bit of hope on their own journey. And please subscribe to walk with us as we explore more paths to growth and fulfillment. Because remember, your success isn't built in a day. It's built day by day, every day. Thanks for watching.